Yeah, what kind of led me to write about this topic and later submit it to the actual competition? So it started off actually with the school project. So this year, there's this program at my school called the Global Scholars Capstone Project, where we essentially do independent study and then therefore like carry that on at the very end of the year to present our research findings. So it was almost you could say like I was able to hit two birds with one stone. So this was just part of that process. And so initially, when I was getting into my research, I've always been like very interested, very data driven, and also like with a mix of healthcare and human rights as well. For example, like with some of the things that I do, like this year I was very involved with policy debate. So we talked a lot about some of these issues in debate. But so as I was researching for this capstone project, I came across a UNICEF report actually on unregistered children, which was something kind of new to me as well. It was something I never really heard about because obviously in the US, there's problems of like undocumented individuals, but I didn't know that was a big issue, as large of an issue as it is, especially in India, where originally I guess my family's from. And so I think like one of the lines that really stuck with me was that there were over 11 million children in India who didn't who just legally just don't exist. And like for me, like that that stuck out to me because obviously 11 million is a lot, but that also stuck out to me in such a way that if you think about it, those kids can't go to school, they can't get vaccines, they aren't protected from things like trafficking or child marriage, or especially if they go missing, then it's kind of like that they have no protection essentially. So they don't have some of those fundamental rights where like kids my age every day we get to enjoy going to school, getting vaccines, etc. And so it was definitely something that I was just completely unaware about, but I had the opportunity to learn more and inform myself through my research of this project. And so essentially, the reason I wanted to write the essay was bring visibility to the children, especially in India, where I know at least my family's from. And so that was something that I realized that wasn't talked about as much. And so to bring light upon that and write a short essay upon that, I thought could have a lot of value. So essentially, I wrote my essay on the lives of 11 million children in India who are considered to not be existent. And so essentially, one thing that I learned while researching this issue was how I learned how something that looks like just bureaucracy on the surface, which is basically just a birth certificate, or in India, it's called the Aadhaar card, actually shapes someone's entire life trajectory. As I mentioned earlier, it determines whether you get into school, whether you get to see a doctor, whether you even show up in these national census statistics as a whole. And another thing I also learned while researching this problem that so many children face is that the problem is cyclical in the sense that to get identity, you also need identity, right? So that trap really opened up my eyes to how systemic inequality as a whole, especially in India, kind of reinforces itself in that cyclical nature. So some things that I learned while researching this topic, of course, just the actual process of going through that research in general. I had to do this. The point of the school project is just to do it independently. So of course, for me, school just started recently, so I'll be able to get some more guidance. But I started this a little earlier in the summer, so taking an independent initiative to find reputable sources that I know I can rely on, and then of course, like the actual topic, I did not know about this major problem in India going on with the 11 million unregistered children as well, and the implications this has on so many children in India, and not only like the implications, but the cyclical nature of it, and how, as I mentioned earlier, that in order to get identity, you need identity to begin with. For me, it definitely opened my eyes to first off how fortunate I am to be able to not go through this issue. Obviously, I was born in the US, so I'm fortunate enough I get to go to school, I get to get my vaccines. If anything occurs, I always have that sort of national backing just due to the fact that I was born here, right? But um, so that was one point. Of course, gratitude was a great thing, but it also like this writing the essay as a whole and editing it, the rough drafts reminded me how easy it is to take just such a simple thing like a birth certificate or just a school enrollment form for granted. And so if I can use this essay to really amplify the stories that so many kids go through, like 11 million kids is a lot. So just being able to amplify that story that not many people know about, I think that's very purposeful. And I intentionally decided to take my time to write this essay in order to really make sure that this story gets amplified.